Jesus. Amen. So, when do we drive back? After Army camp, when do we drive back, Christina? And I forgot, when was it? Sunday? Was it Saturday? Okay. So Saturday night, okay, we drive back after Army camp. Okay. There's 3 things that happened to me that day. It was a very, very long day. And you guys tell me, you guys think in your mind, what would be the worst thing? Okay? I'm going to tell you 3 things, a very stressful thing that happened. In your mind, what would have been the most stressful for you? Okay, number 1. So we were supposed to leave earlier. I'll control it. So first one is 7-hour car ride. Okay? So for you guys, maybe you guys like driving and it's not a big deal. But I thought I would enjoy night driving, but I started to get very sleepy after about 30 minutes of driving. And so the ladies in the back decided to fall asleep. You know, they're always like, yeah, we'll stay up with you and this kind of thing. But no, everybody falls asleep. And so I was getting very, very tired. And it's like driving when you're sleepy, that's like, I don't know, for me, that's like the worst feeling. Okay, so that's number 1. 7 hours of car ride when you're sleepy. Okay. Second one, I had to confront a very, very close friend of mine about a particular sin I felt like that person was going into. So during my car ride, since I was getting sleepy too, I had to talk to that person. I think we talked about 2 to 3 hours. And I confronted them, and it was very awkward. Okay? And I knew that if I confronted them, that person might say, I don't want to be friends with you, or it might have been awkward. But I confronted that person. Okay? So that's number 2. We get home, okay, and it was like around, 3 o'clock at 3 a.m.? Okay, we get home around 3 a.m. We get inside, okay, and then the ceiling, okay, we weren't there for about 1 week. The ceiling, there was like I don't know what you call it. There was like a pouch, kind of like a water pouch thingy. So basically, it was leaking, okay? The roof was leaking. And it was like dripping. And there was like a big water pouch like that was about to burst. So I had to call 911. Okay, because I don't know what to do, right? I thought I was gonna be swept away. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. So I call 911. Like 20 firemen come, right? And they're just like, oh, they just poke it and water comes out, and they're like, okay, we're done. Anyways, so all that stuff happened. We end up sleeping like at 5 or something like that. Okay. So 3 events that happened one day. Okay. Car ride, 7-hour car ride. You had to confront somebody. And then, or roof. Okay. How many of you guys say, number 1, car ride is the worst thing? Car ride. Okay, some of you guys don't like car rides, okay? So 7 hours of car ride is the worst. How about confronting someone, having a conflict with, like, relationship, it's awkward? Okay, several more hands. Okay, good. How about roof? Like, roof is not good. Okay, a lot more kids for this one. Okay. What do you think? Okay, how about this? For knowing me, some of you guys, you don't know me that well. Some of you guys know me more well. What do you guys think was the most stressful thing for me? 1, 2, or 3? Raise your hand, just go like this. Okay. I can't count. But, okay, so the most stressful thing for me was number 2. By far. It was the most stressful thing. Like after that, I was so tired. The whole day, okay? The reason why it was hard for me was even before I got into the car, I was thinking about the conflict. I was thinking, how do I confront this person? During the talk, I was thinking, how do I talk to this person? After, I was thinking, did I do a good job? So I constantly thought about, how do I confront this person? How do I have this dialogue together? So conflicts are really, really difficult. So a lot of times, we avoid conflicts because it's stressful, because it gets messy, it gets awkward. So a lot of times, it's easier for us to just forget it. It's easier for us to run away from it. We get passive aggressive about it sometimes. And then sometimes we have to let it out. And so what we do is we gossip. Right? We attack them in a different way, indirectly. Because if we attack them directly, perhaps, if we conflict, if we confront, maybe it gets awkward. But I need to let it out somehow. We get bitter, we get nasty. And worst of all, when it gets really bad, we unfriend them on Facebook. So 2 weeks ago, we started a new series about conflicts. Why? Because as our church is growing more and more, we're having more conflicts. But we talked about this 2 weeks ago. It's absolutely normal. It's absolutely normal that we're going to get into conflicts, that we're not going to like each other, that we're going to get annoyed at each other and the things that we do. This is absolutely normal. Why? We talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's very simple. Why? Because we're all selfish. We only care about ourselves. We care much more about how I feel than how you feel. Deep down inside, we're all sinners. So we're going to have conflicts. We're going to say things that are going to get on each other's nerves. And if you don't believe me, get married. Okay? So if a married couple ever tells you, no, we never fight, lie. Okay? They probably don't even live next to each other. Okay? They probably sleep somewhere else. I don't know. Okay? You're going to fight. That's what happens. Why? Because we're all sinners. But what we said was, if we're going to have conflicts at this church, in our families, in our relationships, in our small groups, in our Bible studies, in young adult ministry, YAM time, if we're going to have conflicts, what are we going to do? We're not going to run away. We're not going to just do passive-aggressive stuff. No, what we're going to do, we're going to fight greatly. Okay? We're going to conflict greatly. Now, some of you guys who weren't here 2 weeks ago, you go, Kirin, you spelled greatly wrong. And I know. Greatly, as I talked to you 2 weeks ago, what does greatly stand for? To grow relationships that last for eternity. So what is that? That is our vision. Right? That is our vision for our church. So we said we're going to fight greatly. Okay? The reason why we need to fight greatly, we talked about 2 weeks ago, is because, number one, if we want to do great things for God, we have to do it together. Okay? We can't just do it one person. We can't just do even one group of people. We need to do it together. Okay? And I told you guys what 2 weeks ago was Hana and whenever Minu and Gloria always fight, Minu and Camden always fight, Sana and Gloria always say, you guys are friends. Remember, you guys are friends. If you want to play together, you guys have to share. You guys have to deal with each other, basically. And that's the same thing. If we want to do church together, if we want to really do this, grow relationship that lasts for eternity, if we want to really do this, then we have to fight greatly. Not avoid fights, not avoid conflicts. No, we have to fight greatly. So today we're going to go into how we can do this. We're going to talk about the root of why we fight. We're going to talk about how we can solve it greatly. And practically, I'm going to give you guys a really cool, something that I've learned recently to really learn how to really deal with conflicts and to really resolve it well. I'm going to read from Matthew 5, 21 through 24, and 43 to 48. And I know normally I show it on the screen, but I want to do something different. Instead, I want to read it for you guys. You guys can close your eyes, or you guys can look at me, whatever you guys want to do, but to really hear God's word. This is the word of God. You have heard that it was said to those of old, "You shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment." But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. And whoever says, "You fool," will be liable to the hell of fire. Verse 43, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your enemy and hate you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You, therefore, must be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. And this is the word of God. So verse 21, I'll control it from here. So it says this, you have heard that it was said of those old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. And we go, that's pretty obvious. Can you turn down the music, computer music? And we go, that's pretty obvious, right? Murder, that's not something good. We shouldn't do it. Everybody who's, whether you're religious or not, everybody says murder is bad. But we get deeper, okay, into why people start murdering and these kind of things. Okay, let's go in a little bit deeper. What is the problem? The problem is this. Jesus is going to explain why we even come to murder. He gets deeper. He says, I say to you, everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. Whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell fire. Okay, what is Jesus saying? Jesus is saying the reason why people murder, and this is not, of course, 100% of the time, maybe very, very small percent of the time, but the root of murder is what? It is anger. It is this idea of insulting. It is this idea where you say, you fool. It is this attitude of, this dismissive attitude, this belittling attitude, this attitude where you roll your eyes, maybe not in front of them, but in your heart you are rolling your eyes. What Jesus is trying to say is, it's these kind of attitude, it's these kind of belittling act or thoughts that starts growing and growing, that turns into murder. If murder was a tree, then anger or this dismissive attitude, this insult, that is the seed. And now you guys might think, okay, well, I'm not a murderer, right? I'm angry at people. I don't like certain people. I insult people, but I'm not going to murder them. Well, that's probably true. But at the same time, why hold on to that poison? Why hold on to that seed that is continuing to grow and grow? That's what Jesus is trying to say. He goes, yes, everybody knows murder is bad, But do you understand the root of murder? Do you understand that murder, people don't just are born and they just murder people? No, it starts small. It starts with this anger. This Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday. No. Yeah, I believe it was either Wednesday or Thursday. In Colorado, there was a guy named, what was his name? Jeremy Webster, a 23-year-old. He had a road rage. Right? So maybe the lady in front of him cut him off, I don't know. And he got really, really mad. He followed this lady to the parking lot. Okay? He got out of the car. He started yelling at her, and they started yelling at each other. He pulled out a gun. He shot her. There were 3 boys in the back. He shot one of them. While he's walking away, he's still angry. He's still road rage. So he shoots another boy. As he's getting into the car, not satisfied. So he starts shooting at the car again. Luckily, the last boy, he survives. I mean, we look at that and we go, what the heck is wrong with this guy? I mean, how can you do such a thing? I mean, how can you not control your anger? That you're going to really kill this mother and these little tiny kids? What Jesus says is, yes, we understand. Yes, absolutely murder is wrong. You've heard it all your life. But what is at the root of murder? What is at the root? It is anger. It is uncontrolled, unconscious anger. And what Jesus is trying to say is, if the seed continues to produce, if it continues to grow, and again, probably 99.9% of the time, we probably won't kill, but why hold on to that? Why hold on to that poison? Why hold on to that seed that will turn into a tree? But you see, what he's trying to say is the reason why we have these anger, the reason why we murder people, the reason why we have conflicts with people is because of this dismissive attitude. This attitude where we go, you're a fool. How come you can't do that right? I could have done it. How come you can't do it? It's this very, very simple phrase where we go, you fool. Or I know I'm not supposed to say this word, like, you stupid. And now, you guys might think, well, I do that all the time. Well, I might not verbalize it, but I might say that to my husband or my kids, my church members, my boss, my coworker. I think about that a lot of times. And what Jesus is trying to say is, you see, it starts there. It starts there. It starts from, you fool. Oh, you dummy. And then that turns into anger. And far along the line, extreme, it turns into murder. So Jesus says, don't even have this thought. Don't even say, you fool. Kill it at the root. Don't even plant seeds. So what is the solution of this? When you start thinking, that person is a fool. Or you start having conflicts with someone that you don't like. What is the solution? Jesus says this. So if you are offering your gift at the altar, and remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there. Now, for us, when we think of altar, what do you guys think of? When you think of altar, you think of maybe church, right? Now, if you think about it really deeply, what Jesus is saying is actually very extreme. For us, altar, church, well, we see church everywhere, right? For us, for some of you guys who come to this church, maybe it's 20, 30 minutes, okay? But if you want to go to just any church, any altar, it's probably around the corner for you. It's not that far. But for the Israelites, when Jesus is talking to the Israelites, there's only one. Because why? All the other altars, they're illegal. So actually, for the Israelites to go to the altar, that was a big deal. Right? That wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to get in the car for 20 minutes and come back. This is like an event. This is like a whole trip for them. So what is Jesus saying here? Jesus is saying, okay, you're going to plan out. I know that you, who are listening, the Israelites, I know that you've planned for this trip to come to Jerusalem. I know that maybe this was a 2-week thing. But as you are offering your gift to me, you remember that you have something against your brother or your sister, then stop. Go back home. Reconcile with him and come back. Do you see how ridiculous that idea is? That's a ridiculous. For us, it's like, okay, I'll go 20 minutes, come back. And that's still hard for us, but what Jesus is proposing here, that's ridiculous. What's his point? His point is, this is how important it is for you to get rid of that thought. This is that important for you to get rid of this dismissive, this belittling, this rolling your eye in your heart, that kind of attitude. If you have that towards somebody, you need to get rid of that. He says, it's so urgent. He says, if you have a choice of going into conflict, of course, we want to fight well. We want to conflict well. If you have to go reconcile or come to church, choose this. Go and reconcile. Okay, married people, I want to ask you, how many of you guys have ever fought coming to church, on the way to church? Any of you? Probably all of us, right? All of us probably. What Jesus is proposing here is, he's saying, if you are fighting in the car, he basically says, if you have a choice between coming inside the church and worshiping with us, or having a conflict outside and reconciling, he says, go do that. Don't even come into church. Go reconcile. You see how important God is saying this idea of conflicting well or fighting greatly is? He's saying we need to get rid of the root. This is what Jesus is requiring of us. This is how urgent this matter is. Again, we might go, just a thought. It's just, who cares? It's just awkward relationship. I'll just ignore that person. It's not a big deal. I'll just talk about it with another person and get it off my chest. I'll be okay then. What Jesus says is no. Go reconcile. Okay. All of us, every single one of us, we probably have somebody that we need to reconcile with. Okay? Some of us, maybe more than a handful of people that we need to reconcile with. Jesus is saying, leave your offering here and please go and reconcile and come back. Now, I know you guys might think, but you go, but Pastor, come on. But that person is so annoying. Like that person does, like everybody's annoyed of that person, right? It's that person's problem. It's not my problem. Or you might think, but it's gonna be really awkward, right? Or it's gonna be, no, okay, that's fine. Because Jesus gives us something That's going to really help you guys. Okay? And after I learned this, it really, really helped me. Okay. So maybe you have a hard time reconciling with that person. Well, start with this. Minimum, start with this. If you can do this, I believe that you will be able to reconcile. He says this, I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Okay, do this. Easy, right? Easy enough, right? Just love them. That's it. It's so easy. Just love them, pray for them, and that's it. And you will become perfect. You will become sons of God according to Jesus. And you go, what are you talking about? Now, let me explain. When we as in us, when we think of love in the 21st century, we think of what? Feelings. Okay, for us, love is a feeling. It is a noun. But it's interesting, the Bible, it's not a feeling. It doesn't say, feel love for your enemy. Feel buttery affections for your enemy. No, it does not say that. It says, love them. What that means is, it's a choice. It's a commitment. Now, let me explain a little bit further. And again, if you understand this, it's really, really cool. It has really changed the way I view my enemies and people I don't like. And it really helps. Now, C.S. Lewis, he says this. He says, what does it mean to love my enemy? Well, he goes back to the verse about the greatest commandment, where it uses the same word, love. It says, love God. The greatest commandment is what? Love God, and also love your neighbors as you, what? Love yourself. So C.S. Lewis, he says this. He says, okay, I don't know what it means to love God. I don't know what it means to really love others, but I know what it feels like to love myself. And he says this. He says, okay, loving myself, though, doesn't necessarily mean that I always like myself. Actually, a lot of times, because I like myself, or I love myself, I actually don't like a lot of the things that I do. For example, when I am a coward, when I am impatient, when I lash out on my wife, when I get road rage, I don't really like it when I do those things. Why? Because I love myself. So loving myself is not necessarily I like what I do. There is a lot of times when I don't really feel good about myself. So loving myself is not necessarily an action that I have to necessarily love the things that I do, or that I have to have affectionate, emotional feelings for myself. Well, what does loving myself really mean then? Loving myself really means that I always wish well for myself. I always go, even though I get impatient, I don't just say, I give up on you, Kirin, myself. But I go, okay, next time, I'm going to do better. When I get road rage, I don't go, stop driving now. No, I go, I wish better upon you. So C.S. Lewis says, what does it mean to love others? Does it necessarily mean I love everything they do? Absolutely not. Does it mean that I have to like them? I have to have giggly feelings towards them whenever I see them? Absolutely not. But it is to wish good. It is to wish well upon them. And this is exactly what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, love them. How? By praying for them. Because what do we do when we pray? We go, God, please change my heart. I'm such a sinner. I do all these things. But please change me. I don't go, God, I'm a sinner. Please help me to fail tomorrow again. We don't say that, right? We don't go, help me to not have desire for you. I don't pray that. What I pray for is, I always wish the best for myself. That's why I pray. I pray, God, I want a better day tomorrow. I want to grow tomorrow. What God is saying is, pray that for your enemies. not feelings. Not you have to approve of every action they do. No, they might still annoy you. You might still have bitterness. But love them. Pray for them. Wish well upon them. And if you do that, if you constantly, despite the feelings, if you wish well upon them, what will happen? The feelings will come. And this is my experience. And this is, I'm sure, some of your experiences. Maybe at work, you had no choice, but you had to work with this person. And you had to deal with them. Because if you didn't work well together, maybe you won't get a promotion. Maybe you'll get fired. And so you had to deal with this person. And you had to cooperate with this person. You had to be patient with that person. What you normally see is by end of that project is you go, oh, this person is not that bad. This happens to me all the time. As a pastor, I come across many, many different types of people. The people that you guys avoid, I have to deal with them. Okay, you guys can just avoid them. I have to pray for them. What happens? In the beginning, I go, oh, that person's super awkward. Okay, what do I say next? I don't know. Or this person really smells. Okay, there's all these things. But what happens? For me, as a job, I have to pray for them. So I continue to pray. Even though they're not interesting, I act like I'm interested. They're not funny, I laugh. But the funny thing is, after a while, they become funny. They haven't changed their jokes. But something within me, it changes. I start liking them. I start thinking, wow, that's really interesting, even though I had no interest before. This is exactly what parents do, actually. Parents, your kids do the nastiest thing in the world. They're pooping machines. They're Godzilla. They destroy everything. You leave kids, you come back, it's like a bomb dropped. But you go, he farted. And you go, what is wrong with these parents, right? But why do they do that? Why do they do that? Because they love them. They're committed to them. They're committed to this relationship. They go, I'm committed to them, and I love them. And because of that, everything else becomes lovely. Do you understand that this is the gospel? What Jesus is proposing here is exactly what Jesus did for us. Do you understand that we're not lovable? He didn't die for us on the cross because we're so awesome, guys. He didn't die for us because we're perfect. He died for us to make us lovable. To make us valuable. Jesus on the cross. Okay. As he's up there, there's two people on his side mocking him, insulting him. There's people all right in front of him. The people that he's dying for. They're insulting him. They're mocking him. You said you're a king. You said you're a Messiah. Come on, you can't even get off? Okay. As Jesus is on the cross, do you think he's like, aw, you guys are so cute. Like, I'm so going to die for you. Okay, I don't know why I turned into a valley Jesus for some reason. But it's like, I have so much emotional, I love everything that... No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he stays there. And you know what he says? He says, Father, forgive them. He doesn't say, Father, condemn them. Send them to hell. Let them burn forever. What Jesus says is, forgive them. He wishes well upon them. He wishes well upon us when we sin. He doesn't say, you idiot, or you fool, why did you do that? No, what he says is, Father, help them that they don't sin again. Help them that they don't fall again. Help them that they don't get distracted again. Forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. This is where we get the power. For us, this, impossible. Impossible. This is not something we can do. This is not something we can manufacture. It is only when we're looking at the cross. It is only when we see Jesus, how He has shown love to us. That it's an action, that it's a commitment, despite the feeling, despite our sinful, hateful, disgusting actions that we do against God. It's to wish well. It's to pray for your enemies. Who do you need to pray for? It's easy to pray for ourselves. It's easy to pray for the people that we love, feelings-wise. But how about this week, you pray for your enemy? And that you go reconcile. If there's things that you just need to let go, let it go. If it's so severe, if your relationship is so strained that you need to actually go talk to them, go do it. Our call is to fight greatly. Not to avoid. Not to go into the turtle shell. But it's to fight greatly. We're going to go into our time of reflection. I want you guys to think about who you need to pray for. And what God is telling you today. Let's go into our reflection time.